living at night, windowless ride, feeling alive. Nothing in sight, forever in flight. Follow those lines, we'll make it this time. Blurry street lights, work as a guide to memories that we're making tonight.
Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure review. Today we are jumping back into the time machine and traveling 26 whole years to the year 1997 as we look at this vintage action figure. It is Bandai Dragon Ball Z Trunks. Alright, so Trunks is the warrior of hope. He is the warrior from the future, and he's one of my favorite Dragon Ball characters, period. I love Trunks. I think he looks awesome. He was always like the coolest character in Dragon Ball Z. And back in 1997 when this figure came out, I was just so excited to get him. So as you can see here, very bright card packaging. He had the Dragon Ball Z logo at the top. The saga continues. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. So some of these Dragon Ball figures were hard to come by in the United States. For whatever reason, Canada was able to get some of these figures, and I think that explains why it's bilingual at the top. You know, this is clearly English, and I think this is French, I think. But I just kind of remember back in the 90s that there was a certain line of Dragon Ball figures that we couldn't obtain in the US as easily as, you know, you could in Canada. And I think this might have been one of those action figures. Alright, so let's get started. We have Trunks here, a beautiful looking action figure on our right. And then on the left, here are all his accessories. He comes with his scabbard right there. There's the harness for his scabbard, his sword, and then his belt. Now, one of the weird things about these older action figures is that instead of having like painted on details, you had to apply these stickers, which really sucked because these stickers eventually over time would kind of peel off. They'd never be permanent. On the back, so you can recreate the exciting battles of Dragon Ball Z with these detailed action figures. Each figure comes with snap-on clothing or accessories. Collect them all. And here was all the figures in the wave at the time, and it's kind of cool. You had a large selection of characters to choose from, and yeah, pretty cool. So unfortunately, I'm not going to unbox this. This figure is 26 years old. The package is pretty pristine, and it's been in my collection forever. But lucky for you, I have this. I have the same exact figure, but actually loose. Alright, so this figure is 26 years old, and over time, it's seen a little bit of wear, and it's not from play. It's just, you know, through the course of time. Eventually, the stickers, which we see right here, kind of lost their adhesion and they started to peel off, so I just kind of removed them altogether. The stickers, for the most part, would cover the scabbard brown, so the scabbard would look like, you know, like the brown leather in the show. The Capsule Core logo sticker would go on the shoulder right there. I think that was the first sticker to go. That one peeled off the easiest. There were stickers for the buckles on the belt and the harness. And I think there were also stickers possibly for the boots. I don't remember. So over time, this figure, other pieces started to deteriorate. Like on the harness here, there's these really fragile rings that attach to the scabbard. And over time, they kind of snapped. So at that point, I couldn't attach the scabbard any longer to my figure. So to alleviate that, I just kind of magnetized it. I attached whatever remained of the harness. I pinned it to his jacket. And then I attached a magnet here, and then a magnet to the scabbard. So that was my easy fix for that. It's not perfect, you know, of course it's kind of short, but when you look at it at the front, it doesn't really matter. You know, all things considered, this figure is almost 30 years old, so for it to be in the shape that it's in is kind of remarkable, especially like when you go online. You can rarely ever find this figure complete with all the accessories, and if you do, the chances are the figure's pretty beat up. All right, let's examine this figure closely. All right, so first up, the sculpting is really nice. It's a pretty, spot on recreation of the character from the anime, or the recreation of the character from the anime. Trunks kind of had the same shaped head as Vegeta, since Vegeta was his dad, and then he kind of had Bulma's haircut. Yeah, he always had a very serious, stoic look on his face. He came from like a horrible future, much like Kyle Reese in Terminator. He has this harness that's slung over his shoulder that attaches to his scabbard. The belt and the belt buckle you have to assemble also, and that goes around his waist. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you're a fan of like Dragon Ball Super, you can clearly see the differences between Trunks from Z versus Trunks in Super, or even in GT. The look in GT is very different also. And here's the back. The articulation is incredibly limited. I think for the most part, I don't think his head even rotates. Yeah, his head doesn't rotate. I think the only pieces of articulation that move are his arms, which is, it sounds stupid, but that's pretty much it. There is no swivel at the waist. His legs don't move at all. And his feet, they kind of swivel, but they're not meant to. As you can see, they were initially glued on. But yeah, action figures, they were very limited in their articulation in the Dragon Ball line in the early 90s or late 90s. I don't think it was until, I think when Irwin or Jax got the license that they gave the figures a little bit more articulation. But, the first run of figures, you really couldn't do much with them. They were more like these miniature statues or display pieces. Which, all things considered, it's kind of understandable considering like a lot of Dragon Ball merchandise that comes out of Japan, they're not always super articulated action figures outside past like the model kits or the figure art stuff. For the most part, you get a lot of PVC statues, especially from Banpresto. But this figure, I think at the time, it was very exciting to get. For me being a big fan of Trunks, it was kind of cool to get this nice little representation of the character. I kept this at my desk, at my workstation. And it's just a fun little piece of history. I'm very stoked that I have this. Alright, so let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.